there. So we're going to look at number 2 together. So first step is always to factor the top and bottom. So the numerator here doesn't factor, that's just a 3x. Denominator, what multiplies to negative 2 and adds to negative 1? So then we have like a list of things that we are going to find so that we can graph this. What are some of those things?
The x-intercept and the y-intercept.
X and y intercepts. What else?
The vertical asymptote and the horizontal asymptote and oblique asymptote.
Right. Okay, how do I know if the graph has a hole in it? Remember that from Friday? You get a hole in your graph when something cancels off top and bottom. So that doesn't happen here. X-intercept is when y is equal to 0 or the entire equation is equal to 0. I mentioned in the video Friday the shortcut for that is really just when the top of the fraction is 0. Because if you looked at this one, you would multiply over that denominator and it would cancel anyway. So x-intercept is really just when the top of the fraction is 0, which in this case is 0. How do we find a y-intercept? And it doesn't matter if you do the original or the factored. We get 0. So x and y intercepts are both 0. So that's where we hit our axes. Then we do asymptotes. So vertical asymptote is x equals whatever makes the bottom 0. And you have to do the x equals, you have to have the full equation there. So what would it be?
X equals 2 and x equals 1.
So positive 2, when we graph those, they are dashed lines. Okay, and then we have to decide horizontal or oblique. It won't be both, it's one or the other. Remember, oblique happens in the case when the numerator is 1 more than the denominator. Horizontal, there's 2 cases. If it's the same degree on top and bottom, you divide the leading coefficients. If the top degree is just smaller, then it's y equals 0. So in this case, what's the degree of the top? And the bottom? So if the top degree is smaller, that means we have a horizontal y equals 0, which is just the x-axis. It's okay if your graph crosses a horizontal asymptote. It will never touch a vertical, but it can touch horizontal and oblique. So then we went to our calculator and graphed those. I recommend always putting in the original. Do parentheses around the numerator and denominator. So if we do that, we have 3x over x squared minus x minus 2. And then if we look at our graph, I am going to be kind of picky when I'm looking at these graphs. I don't want to see something like this. Those asymptotes are telling you that your graph is getting closer to those lines. So you need to make sure you are reflecting that in your graph. So we are approaching this. We're not actually crossing it, just getting closer and closer to those lines. This one kind of looks like this. And then our final piece. Make sure they get closer to your asymptotes and also that it passes the vertical line test. So I don't want to see something like this for your graph that is a curve. It's not making an L or anything like that. Is that one okay? Let's look at, let's do number 4 together. First step is factor. So what would you do on the top? So what multiplies to -2 and adds to +1? And this multiply to -12 and add -1, so -4 plus 3. Does anything cancel out? Right. X-intercept. That's when y equals 0. The shortcut to that, it's really just when the top of the fraction is 0. So what things make the top of this fraction equal 0?
0, 1, -2.
I don't think the 0 does, because this 3 doesn't have an x with it. If it were 3x, then you'd have that. The 3 itself won't change anything. So it's just 1 and -2. Y-intercept, if you put in 0 for all of your x's, you can do the factored, you can even do the original. If we did the original, top would be -6, the bottom would be -12, so that's a +1/2. Vertical asymptote, x equals, what makes the bottom 0? Alright, horizontal or oblique? Horizontal, it's the same degree on top and bottom. So in that case, you divide the leading coefficients. So 3x squared divided by x squared equals 3. So hit the x-axis at +1, -2, y-axis at +1/2. -3, +4, and horizontal x. Okay, so when we graph it, use parentheses for the original. And then we see the first section of the graph is above that horizontal asymptote. Next one is like an upside down parabola hitting our 3 intercepts here. And it's any questions on that one? Let's do, try to decide which one I'm going to do. Let's do number 7. Right, does the top factor? No. So when you try to find the x-intercept, the shortcut is when this fraction equals 0, which means the top equals 0. And what kind of number are we getting? Imaginary. So that means there is no x-intercept. We can't graph that. Y-intercept. If you plug in 0 for all of your x's, you get 1/3. Vertical asymptote would be, okay, horizontal or oblique? Oblique, because the top degree is 1 higher. What if it's more than 1 higher? What does that mean? If it's 1 bigger, it's oblique. If it's more than 1 bigger, then there is none. No horizontal, no oblique. So to get it, we have to do long division. I have my x squared. I'm going to throw in a 0x just to help me out. So x squared divided by x. And then you multiply x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x. And then what do we do? negative 3x plus 1. We are one step away because remember we don't need the full thing. We just need the line. So negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. So our oblique asymptote is y equals x minus 3. We don't hit the x-axis. The y at 1/3. Vertical negative 3. Oblique, it's just the line, y-intercept of negative 3. Slope is 1. So if we graph this, if you just look at your calculator, you're probably only seeing one little piece right now, but it's a function. It should exist on both sides of that vertical asymptote. So since I'm not seeing everything, if you go to zoom, number 3, zoom out, and then hit enter, it should zoom out a little bit, and then we can see there is a second piece of this graph all the way down here. So you should always have something on both sides of your vertical asymptote. If you don't, zoom out. Your calculator's messy. Is that one? Last one we're going to do together. We'll look at number 8. So when you factor, you get x plus 3, x minus 3 over x plus 3. So what happens? So we have a whole act. Okay, it's an ordered pair. The x value of that ordered pair comes from what cancels? What makes x plus 3 0? To get the y value, you plug the negative 3 into what's left. So negative 3 minus 3. So negative 3, negative 6 is an open circle on my graph. X-intercept. You set y equal to 0. You get 3. Y-intercept. You plug in a 0 for x, you get negative 3. Do we have any asymptotes here? No, it's not even a fraction anymore. This is just a line. So all we have is a line with an open circle on it. So, your homework, due tomorrow, I want you to finish those last 4 problems on that handout. I'm also going to go ahead and give you the study guide for the test on Wednesday. I won't actually collect this until before the test, but tomorrow you'll have class time, but hopefully we can also go over any questions that you guys might have at